bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Segmer's got there. Marquinhos! He's been knocking on the door. He knocks it down.
Diving into all the biggest stories and top headlines.
You are ripping and roaring today.
This is USL All Access
It's almost impossible to recreate that level of magic.
with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome to USL All Access, everybody. A very happy Tuesday. We've got plenty of Open Cup drama to recap and preview. A couple of half-field goals to chat about. Which one's better? The one where, you do it from slightly before half-field or slightly after half-field? We'll find out. But also, the West unbeatens now down to 1 after they played one another over the weekend. And a couple teams got much-needed results, whether it be a point or their first win of the season. With Devon Kerr and Emmett McConnell at the controls, Mike Watts. Dev is wearing a Colorado Springs Switchbacks jersey, which is telling. It means they got something last weekend. I'm wearing a Battery jersey because I am now fully convinced they are the best team in the championship right now by a wide margin. Dev, happy Tuesday to you.
Have you been drinking this early, considering you just said wide margin?
Wide margin.
Wide. You think it's a wide margin for the Charleston Battery?
It feels
over
that way
everyone
right
else in the
now.
league?
Feels right. Right now it does.
I think
Now,
that's
if they get 2 injuries, it
get
won't be
one
so
injury.
wide.
They get one injury. We talked
Well,
about that last week.
That one injury.
I got to be honest, man. It's been a while since I've seen you. It's good to see your face.
Hasn't been like 3 days. What?
No, I think we're not even 48 hours removed from being in the same room.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's that.
Yep.
How was your flight home? Good.
Fantastic.
It's a ridiculous. You and I were on the call for the Fox feed for LA Galaxy and San Jose, and we'll just say it didn't lack any drama. 7 goals, a red card, multiple stoppages of play, 37 added minutes on.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny because, it's all a blur to me. I don't remember it at all.
It was a quick start and a quick finish.
Yeah, that's right.
How was that? Hang on. Your favorite thing from the after meal snack we had? Fries, zingers, pretzel, onion rings. And was it because the sauce that accompanied any of those made you sway your decision?
I mean, the bar cheese was fine. It was a little wet for my taste.
Pretzel was good.
Yeah.
The bar cheese
Pretzel
was a little
good.
wet. I was used to something like we think we both are, something thicker that like sticks to the pretzel.
Right. This just sort of
Right?
soaked the pretzel.
Yeah. I don't think it was weighed down by water or anything like that.
No.
There was flavor. There was good flavor to it.
No, that was a planned wetness. The moisture was an agreed upon amount.
Did you like the spicy ranch?
I didn't mind the spicy ranch, and that
Let's go
blew
on
your
record
mind.
here. That blew my mind. Let's go on record here, Mike, so that everybody at home is aware. It's not just coleslaw because of the consistency and the flavor. Mike doesn't. I don't even know how to phrase this. Mike doesn't like white foods, basically, or white substances.
That feels
Yogurt,
a little strong. I like
Yogurt?
cauliflower. No.
yogurt, mayonnaise.
Nope.
Okay, cottage cheese,
Mm-mm.
cheesecake.
Mm-mm.
So, does your significant other like those things?
Appreciate several of them, yes.
Do you ask her to sit at another table when she's partaking in them?
It's not that simple.
I mean, what does the dinner table look like when all those condiments and sauces show up on the table? Will you still sit next to her, or do you ask her to maybe move a chair down?
No, we're together. We just only have, it's a very long table.
Together
So,
but separate.
yeah, no.
It's like some of the teams in the USL Championship right now.
All right, it's time to get started. I'm prepared to succeed under pressure, as our buddy
Gary
Gary
Bailey
would
with
say.
the book.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He looks better without the glasses. I'll tell him so, and then
He's
he'll
handsome,
tell
man.
me. Yeah,
He's a handsome individual.
he sure is.
Yeah.
Dev, let's get to work, shall we? There were a couple of half-field goals. I just want to lead with that because why not? Once in a while, it's an enjoyable experience. Juan David Torres scored for Charleston against Tulsa. Javier Navarez scored for El Paso at Tampa Bay. I'd be remiss not to mention that both of these occurred on fields that were initially allocated for baseball. I would be remiss. Now, the Rowdies field, right? Since Al Lang has been converted, that's a genuine.
It's big field. Yeah. I mean, it's tight on the outside, but it's decent enough size. Absolutely.
Right. So credit where it's deserved. Juan David Torres, I'm not quite ready to give it nearly as much credit. Great goal. Wearing the shirt, just, small field.
You like that jersey better than the away alternate?
It's not even close. I don't think it really fits all that well on a bigger gentleman, but
I'm surprised you asked for a medium.
Black and it's an Italian medium.
Italian extra medium.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not even a question who wins this. And it's not the Charleston Battery.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that was a thunderbolt. He struck it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like right on the laces, proper rotation, up over the top. It was only ever moving up and away. Feel free, anybody at home, by the way, if you happen to be on the calls for one of these, to actually show some emotion on it. Thanks.
Yeah. By the way, Greg Hurst probably had the best goal of the weekend. It was right outside the penalty area. It was like a first-time side foot half volley over the goalkeeper chip.
Yes.
Like
Zlatan,
that was
Zlatan
delightful.
Reminded me of Zlatan.
That's as close as Greg Hurst will ever get to Zlatan, and that's not even a knock on Hurst.
Unless his father actually made a trip to Serbia.
That's possible.
Sweden, I mean. Sweden.
Yeah.
Have you seen that floating around on the internet?
I have.
Who's the basketball player? What's his name again?
Oh.
A guy who looks like Zlatan, who's Serbian.
Yeah.
And basically the joke is they ask the basketball player if they're related, and he says, no, my dad has never been to Sweden. And Zlatan responds with, no. Oh, no, but my dad has been to Serbia. Basically, Zlatan calling him his younger brother and saying, I own you.
Yeah.
Which is on par and brand for everything that comes out of his mouth.
Mm.
All-time great footballers and personalities. He's at the top of the list for me of someone I would have to have a dinner with.
I don't know that I'd want Zlatan at my dinner table.
Pourquoi?
First off, I bet that man eats unlimited mayonnaise, so that's uncomfortable. But even
not with those abs.
True enough.
No, you have to be mayonnaise free to run a six-pack. I can tell you that from experience.
I'm
mayonnaise full now. Keep going.
And you would think that would give me a six-pack, but it's all the other stuff.
Okay,
he would dominate the proceedings in a way that I would find uncomfortable.
Isn't that what you deal with me?
Well, sometimes.
All right, we have our moments together. I'll keep going.
Let's talk about soccer. Goodness gracious. This isn't about dinner guests or who sits at what table at dinner. All right.
Should be.
Handful of games we want to chat about from the weekend. First of all, the West Unbeatens matched up. I don't want to say this thing was over in 15.5 seconds, but it kind of was. Orange County got sucker punched right out of the gate, cross off the right side from Roro, knocked home by Trevor Ammon. They never really recovered. I'm a little confused. If you're at home, you're trying to set the tone of the game. Christian Sorto strikes me as a better option than Sofian Jafal. I didn't entirely, if you're trying to hold the ball, fine, but ultimately it put them in neutral for 90 minutes. They never really got going. You could argue the best they did was, at least attacking-wise, final 20, 25 minutes with Sorto on the field. It just didn't work out on the night. Like Sacramento, they're too good for you to think you're going to be able to just slip around them. I struggled with it.
I would
Sanchez scored. Sack was really pragmatic. Still no Arnold Lopez or Herrera or Villader, and it looks like they're completely fine. And they're going to add 3 in the midseason. They're just going to blow it open.
Yeah, I would argue, by the way, that in terms of that specific personnel, I get what you're saying, but Sophie and Jafal better clogging the central passing lanes and defensively, which you normally need against the SAC team. Right? Like their ability to transfer from one side to the other. I know everything's about the width. I get it with Jack Kerr. The way that they utilize him on one side is one thing. but their ability to stop and then immediately transition to the other side is one of the best in the entire league. So, yeah, you gain an offensive look with Sorto. You play devil's advocate. If they don't give up that early goal, you've got this back and forth, the ability to break lines better with a Sofiane Jafal, or excuse me, with Christian Sorto if he's in there. But defensive transition, I'll take Jafal any day of the week over Christian Sorto. So it's just an idea how you want to set the game up, right?
Yeah, don't disagree with you. I think the tough part in calling that game was seeing this giant pocket of space out in front of the back four for Sacramento and no one being willing to walk into it.
And if you pick off your moment or your set piece or a turnover and you go get that 1-0 lead, regardless of what point in time it is in the match, then you're cruising and you look like an absolute genius, right? It's kind of one of those ones on the sidelines where as early as the goal is, you kind of go, well, 4-letter word, right?
Yep.
Because of the setup.
It had nothing to do with tactics. Like when you get popped right off the gate,
it changes it.
Yeah. The whole game changed, but it wasn't because your tactics didn't work.
Yeah, bingo. With those selections, flick of a wrist, snap your fingers, all of a sudden you're in La La Land trying to figure out how to get out of this terrible dream.
Yep. Pittsburgh, not only did they get a win, Dev, but all of a sudden this is an offensive juggernaut. 3-1. Like, here we go. What a shot. It's wild. Keziah Sterling for the Golden Boot. It all happened overnight.
I can't say this since we're talking about Instagram. I can't say this meme or quote, but with my hands, stop. Something. I can only handle so much is basically what it is. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No.
I'll text it to you while we're on air.
This has been a very visual show so far, hasn't it?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Which is a good thing. We've got faces for radio on SiriusXM.
Yeah.
So credit to Pittsburgh. Took their chances. Definitely better. Thought the shift into the back four was an interesting one for sure. I'm a little surprised they didn't try it sooner off the bat. I know that they've been waiting for healthy bodies, things like that. Bob, we've talked about it at length. Bob Lilly has certainly cycled through some personnel decisions that were interesting, we'll say. Chemistry looked better. They looked cleaner on the ball. Their transitions were better. I thought defensively they just looked good overall. I don't know what's going on in Phoenix, man. They moved to a 4 as well. Fede Varela, as they basically went with a very predictable in terms of the lines and setup, 4-2-3-1. Fede Varela, who is awesome. Good career. I probably prefer Panos in that situation, and Panos has been dropped to the bench, which is a weird one to me. In terms of the out-and-out 10, like when you box the midfield, when you run multiple 10s or 8s, whatever, we're having a different conversation. If you're playing 3 on the front line, it's a different conversation. That wasn't it here. You're relying on one guy and one guy only. I would choose Panos in this spot. And they didn't. They did well for the opening 20 minutes. Couldn't finish their chances. Here comes Pittsburgh. I don't know what the heck the opening goal was, and that's just kind of the way the game went. As we're setting this up, and I give you a lot of credit for this one, you put on the format. Was it ever entirely right in Phoenix? Does winning a title make up for finishing 6th in the first place? Before I give my response, how do you feel? Because I thought it was a very interesting take. I was like, oh, that's a good point.
You know, if you look at Phoenix last year, the whole thing was sprinkled with fairy dust in a way that was in no way repeatable. You could have rolled the dice 1,000,000 times and not rolled out 3 straight extra time or stoppage time game extenders or game winners. You could have gotten to the final, gone to pens, gone down 2-0, and played that out 1,000 times. And I don't know that Charleston implodes / Phoenix finds their backbone at the precise right moment to salvage ultimately winning the title. This is not a knock on that Phoenix team. That's not the point. The point is that was not going to be a direct reflection of they're going to be the best team in the league next year if they just keep it together. That was a really amazing month, not a really amazing season. And we spent half of last year going, if they ever get it right, boy, this is going to be impressive. And for a while they did, but it was still largely either you could call it inconsistent or it took a while to rev the engine. And now you lost your thought leader who, I don't know Danny Stone the same way I do Juan Guerra. All the people in Phoenix saying time to move on, potentially, like it seems like it's a very, very small number. And at least one of them is related to a former coach of the team, which I got a real kick out of. But you allowed Arteaga to go. Like, there's 15 goals out the door. Handful of other guys ultimately leave. You lose your coach. Like, it was always going to take a little while at best. And at worst, you're going to find out that was, in fact, the 6th best team in the West last year.
I'm going to go big picture here first. I agree with a lot of what you said in terms of what they brought to the table last year. We were very clear the entirety of the time that if they could unlock the code, they could do great things. And they did that. The odds of that postseason run coming together once again, slim to none. However, I don't think it was undeserved. I don't think it was luck. No. Let me rephrase that. I know it wasn't undeserved. I know it wasn't luck. We know what the eye test is. We understand statistics. When you watch them play, you could see glimpses early on. And as the season went on, they got better and better and better. And we just kept saying, whoever they get, watch out. And they took the best advantage of that opportunity put in front of them. Maybe more so than we've ever seen in USL Championship history. In terms of seeding, I understand people make that argument. To me, the relatability factor reminds me of the 19 Monarchs. So I went and chased some stats here. In Phoenix's final 16 games, which includes 4 postseason wins, I get it, to your point, asterisk-ish, with 3 of them coming in extra time. I'm with you, and 1 depends, right? 16 games, 9 wins, only 3 losses. You're going to vomit to know that the record is almost identical with the Monarchs. In their final 16, I had it in my head, and I have to go recount as we're doing it right now. In their final 16, which includes 4 postseason games, they had...
This happens a lot, by the way.
3 losses as well.
Okay.
The record is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The
only
counting,
they had one more win.
Not the result. The counting happens all the time. Sorry,
obviously.
Continue.
Thanks for everybody at home.
Yeah.
The reason I give you that is that 19 Monarchs team felt untouchable come postseason play. So much so that you and I, Tyler was our sideline for that game, we were very clear that we thought that they were going to win that match against Louisville.
And we had a player in the league go, "You are out of your mind."
They called us drunk, is what it was.
Yeah, well, and weren't sober, but certainly weren't drunk.
No. And not on air.
No. This is way before the game.
And looked at us like we had 10 heads and 400 eyes. But to us, with the historical experience, being immersed in those situations, we felt it. We saw it, right? Phoenix felt the same way. Transition to 24. Do believe that they've lost a lot. I don't think they're anywhere near their potential. I'm not comparing them to last year. They lack organization. They lack commitment. They lack energy. There is a pride factor to all of this that is embarrassing to the organization. And I'm not putting that on any one person. I'm not putting that on a coach. I'm certainly not putting it on Bobby. I'm not putting it on the players. I'm just saying that, like, what are you doing? Step up. Because this goes past tactics. Like, some of it's just, how bad do you want it, right? There's an emotional tie to all of this that you have to want to go and be able to find greatness again. Not win a title, just retain relevance. And they're nowhere near that right now. And it's sad. It is sad because that was hitting that mountaintop with that group, it was very impressive. And I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
But we're also a long way from the finish line. So,
yeah, as calendar turns to May, they play Rhode Island, who just got off the schneid this past week, got cup set, and then potentially, who knows, right? They go win against Phoenix. Rhode Island's going to feel really good about themselves. Phoenix is going to be looking really hard in the mirror. It's going to get very loud. We've got plenty of other stuff to talk about, including the Open Cup and the draw, a couple other results. Look ahead to the weekend. It's all coming up right here on USL All Access.
Let's get back to USL All Access on SiriusXM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back to USL All Access, everybody. Very happy Tuesday. If you miss any part of the show, you can watch Devon dance on YouTube tomorrow. You can also re-listen and avoid having to watch that on the SiriusXM app. Mike, Devon, here we go. Before we get into the Open Cup and the games last week and the draw, do want to make a couple of mentions. I found this super interesting, Dev. Adrian Pelayo, right? Going on trial. Feyenoord, okay. Clubs in Belgium, fine. NCFC, North Carolina, saying that they're going to provide updates on social media from Adrian throughout that trip.
yeah, enjoy that.
I really hope there's some interesting stuff there. People don't know what a 2-week, 4-week, whatever trial of Europe, because we hear it all the time.
It's insane.
16-year-old goes over for 3 weeks. What does that mean? What are you doing? I want to know. This is great.
You want to know my first 48 hours?
No,
No, seriously, it's not bad.
bring it.
I took it was late. I didn't have a direct. I flew
This was after Stetson. This was when you were 18, 19?
No. This is when I went on trial in Germany before I signed.
Okay.
So had already made multiple stops in the U.S., had a couple contract offers, bypassed them for the dream to go to Europe, took off on an American flight. Tells you what I knew back then. Flew American.
Yeah.
Idea of flying American, rest in peace. Stick with Delta, everybody. Took a 7:00 flight or something, or 5:00 flight. So late afternoon, early evening. I think it was 5:00. Flew from Miami to Dusseldorf. Then you leave customs, have to come back through customs because that's the way it works in that country. Went from Dusseldorf to Hamburg, landed there 7-8 o'clock-ish in the morning. Flight was delayed, and our quote-unquote handler, basically the person that was helping us get there, had to go back to his job. He was the head soccer writer for the Hamburger Abendblatt, which is like the biggest sporting soccer paper in Hamburg, and had to go back to his job. So we had to find our way from the Hamburg airport to the Hauptbahnhof. Hauptbahnhof is the main train station, to then find our way to this person's house that was taking care of us. That afternoon, went for a run with all the trialists, got sleep, then had a call to the facility at 7:30 in the morning to go through some testing, to then play a 1:00 afternoon test game. My body was all messed up. I was all over the map, mentally, physically. I had no clue what was going on, and I played the game of my life to give myself an opportunity. But people just think you get on a plane, go over there. Like, there is so much more behind it. So I'm with you. It's pretty fun and exciting. Although, for him to have to do it himself is a little meh.
I would just like to. I look forward to his vlog. All right.
Yeah.
All of that. Just
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate the attitude.
Oh, geez. And that did result in a contract, right? With them.
Yeah. With
Impressive.
Altona. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Dev, here's the other piece of news I wanted to mention. USL Tactics is saying that every seat that's hot got a little bit warmer as a result of this. I don't know that it's that simple.
No, good tweet, though.
A good tweet. Neil Collins departs Oakwell. That's the way they describe it. They're in playoff position. They sit 5th. They appeared like they were set for automatic promotion to the EFL Championship. They might end up hanging in League One at Barnsley. 5 games winless. A lot of people are like, this is the worst football I've seen in 36 years. Bro, you guys have been relegated. This is not the worst football you've seen at all.
They're
What
in
are
a
you
playoff
talking
position.
about? You
They're in
are
a fight for a playoff battle. What is going on?
And look, 7th is getting mighty close. I get it. Guys,
Recent
I
form
mean,
last 8 games. Go cry me a river. You weren't anywhere near it until he got there and he brought you up. Relax.
read the room.
Relax.
I don't
You know
know
what's
where
going to
Neil.
happen now.
Yeah, well,
They're going to miss out on it all.
they will, and then they're going to look
reaction
back.
that makes them look like jerks and puts them out.
Yep. They've got one more game left in their season, and then potentially the playoff. But like, it's funny, man. My favorite part of Barnsley was like they mentioned his playing career ended at the Rowdies. They didn't even mention that he was the coach there. Like they took no pride in that, and it's like if you understood his journey at Tampa Bay, you'd understand the first 8 months are building something, and you'll end up reaping from it for a long time. And they blew it.
Mike, in the next 12 months, he will be a coach in the United States or in Europe?
That is genuinely going to be a personal choice on his part. He'll have options in both.
I think he stays over there.
I don't disagree with you.
Awesome. You could.
I think the only reason he would have left the Rowdies was to go home, and I don't know that he would come back here to go coach anywhere. The Rowdies, he had sort of vacation connections, and like that was the way.
His family went there when he was a kid.
Right. There was a connection there. And I don't know that, pick a team out of a hat is going to be enough to drag him back here.
You saying in that fashion is no different than telling me you don't eat white foods and then you ate ranch in front of me the other day. Move on, please.
First off, it was like a Chipotle or a spicy ranch. It was no longer white. All right, let's talk about the Open Cup. This whole show is getting away from us. All right. Handful of key results. Charlotte, 4-4 banger with Rhode Island. Charlotte end up advancing, so League One Cup set there. The dream is over for the Burrito Boys. El Farolito go down against Oakland, 2-1 in extra time. Do you know how many times I've heard the last week that El Farolito has a higher payroll than Oakland? I mean, it is funny because we're like, oh yeah, this guy played in Champions League. Oh shoot, this guy played for Motagua. And it's like, oh,
who's this Benston guy?
Who's this Benson guy? Oh wait, that's like Jerry Benson, who was brother. A multi-million-dollar transfer to the New England Revolution 10 years ago in a DP. Wild. And there's already rumors that Denbor is getting signed somewhere. How he hadn't previously, I am lost. If you're a Jairo Enriquez, right? Like this dude hops off for El Salvador, was really good in Champions Cup. You must be making a lot of money in a lot of brown paper bags to not have a USL team at least come take a flyer on you. There's enough guys down there that you could stock up a roster.
Oh, no. I'd back that up. I would disagree with you. Here's why. I don't think it's financially based at all.
Okay.
I think it's a comfortability factor and culture.
For the player or for the team?
For the player. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, being comfortable in your surroundings. I'm not saying for Jairo, but being comfortable going to a country, and we're using USL as an example, but you could make this argument around the world. Going to a country where you don't know anybody, you don't speak the language, you're not familiar with the league, that is a massive jump. I get the money side. The rest of it is very difficult to handle, for sure.
Yeah.
We just talked about the trialing thing, right? Like firsthand experience, leaving a country, going to Germany. I didn't know a single person. I didn't speak the language. It's lonely. It's difficult. Mentally, it pushes you to some really uncomfortable places. And I think it's easy for a person to bow out of that opportunity.
Yeah, don't disagree with that. I'm just saying there are enough guys that are interested in having an overseas move that want to experience that USL can go attack the Central American market better than they have.
Mike, live in a foreign country by yourself for a month.
I'm not disagreeing with that. There are people who want to do that.
Live in a foreign country by yourself for a month where you don't speak any of the language or eat a thing of coleslaw.
First off, the coleslaw is not a problem. I'm genuinely saying if an individual does not want to do that, that's fine. But the number of players who say, I want to transcend and go to a different league and play overseas, I've read it a million times surrounding Champions Cup, Central American Cup, that like guys are playing for that opportunity. That's fantastic.
Agreed.
I'm surprised this league has been unable previously to bring more guys from that market. It is an inefficiency
That's a different way to phrase it.
me.
That's a different way to phrase it, and I fully agree with you.
Okay, I'm not sure how I phrased it, but that
You
was
made
the intent all along.
Well, the way I'll say it to you this way: the way that I interpreted it was more so on the player's interest as opposed to an organization and their inability to bring them here.
Okay,
that's kind of how it
I think it's a combination of both, because I do think there are USL clubs that don't look at that market, and I also think there are players who would not want to come here. I see both sides.
Do you think it's a misconception on organizations not understanding what the financial rewards are, if you will? I'll use that phrase for some of those players, like what they're actually making there.
I don't know the answer to that. That would be intriguing. I've heard all these rumors about like Olympia and whatever, but
and I can tell you this: you and I both know this. The scouting for teams and where they go and get players from has certainly broadened itself over the past couple of years. I think the Canadian Premier League is a really good example where, we started to see more players kind of go back and forth between the leagues really 2-3 years ago. And out of all of the organizations I spoke to, maybe 5, maybe we're looking at it. Maybe.
Yeah.
And I get it. That's north of the border. It's a different game, different personnel, but it's right there. It's not that far off in terms of what's available on the south side of things, right?
Yeah.
And yet most people don't look at it. Colleges are the same way, by the way.
Yeah, I also think there's inadvertent we think X and Y is better. Now, I think it's become clear that the USL feels it has a substantial step at the moment on the CPL based on personnel they've brought in and what we've talked about with coaches. You're looking for the cream of the crop there. I think you've underrated Central American countries and ignored market inefficiency. And then you go over and get 9 guys from Denmark that have much more trouble assimilating to the geographic and travel demands and physicality of this league.
Watts, how many times have you and I been on a formerly CONCACAF Champions League, now known as CONCACAF Champions Cup game that sees an MLS team against a Canadian team, against a Honduran team, a Mexican team with younger players, and all of a sudden 2 or 3 months later, player from those teams that an MLS team is playing is on trial in America.
Yep.
Or signed to the team. I mean, very, very common story. I'm with you.
I just see it very infrequently at the USL level where I think they'd be able to hit. I think they would be in a good position to make the most of that if they wanted to.
When USL decides to move on from us, we know what our next jobs are going to be. Scouts in the South and Central American markets.
That's it. Can't wait. All right. A couple other results. Loudoun do outlast Richmond 0-0. That goes to Pens. Hartford was just wasteful. They needed to finish the job, and they didn't. The way NYCFC equalized in that game was nutty for sure, but well done. Omaha knock out El Paso in Pens. We called that. Spokane scored a worldie to take that to extra time. Vegas do end up winning. They did a great job with Cashman Field, by the way.
Looks incredible.
I'm shocked that's the same venue.
It looks incredible.
Every time I see it, I'm like, no way. And watching Spokane score that goal on that field, only underscored how great the field looks.
Oh, Ricky Alba at the death.
Yeah.
114th, was it? 110th? He was in there. It was extra time, I remember, and it was a couple minutes in.
Yeah. Dev, quick couple thoughts on the draw. So reigning champ comes in, 8 MLS teams, and the 8 highest point total USL teams go in now, is I believe how this ultimately works. Houston, Detroit is interesting to me. Steve Cherundolo already spoke about how excited he is to go back to Las Vegas with LAFC. Rowdy's Birmingham has some juice. The whole of San Jose, Oakland, and Sacramento, Monterey, that was one group. I love that. I hope Oakland absolutely bludgeons San Jose.
Dear Lord.
I hope San Jose brings the town, and I hope Oakland absolutely kills it. Couple of long distance ones that come to mind: Seattle and Louisville, Orange County and Loudoun. Omaha and Kansas City is a rematch from a quarterfinal a couple of years ago. I like Dallas, Memphis for whatever reason. You got a game?
Why are you so, out of curiosity, why do you want San Jose to get beat so bad?
I want Oakland to get a measure of relocation revenge.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with Lucci nor the players.
Well, funny because my mind works the other way of all the crazy battles that we've gotten out of SAC and San Jose over the years in this competition. I want to see one of those again. For
No.
a San Jose team that's struggling right now and a SAC team that could look like a walk on the park for them real quick.
Yep.
Relatively speaking.
Anything else you like there?
I think the Union Sporting carries some juice for me. I don't think it's anywhere close because Sporting is very, very good. But, you know, the run that was 2022 for Omaha that got them to the quarterfinal and saw an opening 15-minute run that looked good. Now, the good news is they are at home. So, but the roster from Sporting is a very different roster now than it was in 2022.
It was.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
New Mexico, Real Salt Lake.
Mm.
The atmosphere, I have a feeling Real Salt Lake's going to go younger, much younger from what I've heard. I don't know if it's true, but some of the sources tend to be right when it comes my direction.
Elevation derby.
Yeah, call me.
Yeah. The 5,000 feet.
We're workshopping that.
Yeah. All right. I'm working on it. All right. When we come back, we'll take a quick look at some games that you should be watching around the league. Also coming up, Dev takes a deep dive into the mailbag, and we take another look at the winless and the unbeaten. It's next on USL All Access.
Giving insight to all the biggest moments in Championship and League One. This is USL All Access on SiriusXM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back to USL All Access. Plenty to chat about around Week 8 now. It's shocking. Week 8 in the Championship. There is a game on CBS Sports Network. Let that become a bit of a familiar sight for you. Games on ESPN Network start in the summer months. Early on, a lot of CBS SN. Tampa Bay, New Mexico, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. We'll chat a little bit about that matchup to come. But let's chat about the other games that start on Friday and will conclude on Saturday. 12 games again this week, one Friday, 11 on Saturday. Rhode Island and Phoenix kick it off on Friday at 7:30 p.m. For Phoenix, that is a long flight. That is going to be a long, short week to get all the way to Rhode Island. It's going to be a bandbox there. Like, I'm very excited to see the Rhode Island atmosphere bring in the reigning champ. One that's a little bit down on their luck right now, Dev.
So Rhode Island tweaked themselves a little bit. I thought that we saw a different transitional look within the midfield. I was impressed, to be fair. They kind of played with a roaming 10, if you will, just in front, just under the back line, just in front of the midfield four, and the midfield four would be very flat. Felt like that was a little bit more dynamic now. If anything, it veered more on the defensive side of things, which doesn't bode well for a Phoenix team, does it, who struggled to score goals and hasn't looked great. I give Rhode Island a lot of credit for what they did, but they are far from where they need to be. I'm a little bit surprised that some of the results earlier didn't go their way, but I haven't seen as much progression in the group that I thought I would. I thought they would be cleaner, more efficient in what they're trying to do, not as much exploration right now.
A handful of games on Saturday that we're keeping an eye on. Charleston, Las Vegas just feels like it has a little bit of juice for me. Day game, 4 p.m. start. You just sort of wonder if Vegas might be able to surprise a little bit here. There are 4 teams in the league that have 2 guys with 4 or more goal contributions each. Call them dynamic duos. Both those teams have that. Just kind of intriguing to me. Indy, North Carolina, and Miami, San Antonio also kick off 7 p.m. on Saturday. I have a bad feeling Miami is going to get smited off the face of the planet if they try and get too cute. Like San Antonio on the road.
Phrase it.
Yeah, that's one way to put it for sure. San Antonio playing away. This is at the soccer stadium, which helps, honestly. Few less awkward bounces, no turf. But I've got questions about that.
I don't think it's a close game at all.
No, I don't either.
We choose different words in this situation.
Yes, smited off the face of the planet. Pittsburgh, Detroit is Saturday at 7 p.m.
I'm here for
That
it.
is the rematch of the 1-8 game from last year that saw Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. I'm not Miami United by betting on this game, but I am. I mentally I have cashed a lot of chips on this. Pittsburgh's ready.
I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. And interesting, by the way, just something to add to it. Detroit's draw, which you mentioned before, with Houston. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh, as poor as they've been, they can move the ball, and they're starting to figure some things out. Houston moves the ball really, really well. And as much as Bob Lilly's been willing to change some of what you've gotten out of them, the way they pivot on the outside and over-influx into the midfield at times will mimic some of what you'll get out of Houston. I think it's a good challenge for Detroit for sure, but I think Pittsburgh's going to have something in this one. I know there's been a lot of change there, but Bob Lilly's going to have this team ready to roll.
No doubt. And also, good on Detroit. They've had a really solid start. I don't know that the conversion numbers necessarily are sustainable. They don't have a lot of depth, but right now, it's working. They're still defensively stout. Impressive start. Birmingham and Memphis, that is Southern Harm, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. A couple other games in the 7:30 window so that you can try screen it. Louisville and Hartford is Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Then the Rowdies in New Mexico, aforementioned, on CBS Sports Network. If you had to pick one game in the East, that 7 to 7:30 window, you're watching.
You know what's crazy is you're going to think I'm nuts for saying this. I want to watch Memphis Birmingham. And I want to watch them because of the changes that they're trying to get out of their clubs. Birmingham looks like they've simplified things. They flattened out their shape a little bit, trying to make it easier on themselves to manage a game. And I'm not sure if Stephen Glass is going to get the best out of this group, but I do believe in the personnel that they have there, and it's just been inconsistent, right? Like Bruno Lapa in the starting lineup, not in the squad selection at all. Play him in the 10. Nate Pickering up top by himself, move him on the outside. There's so many rotating pieces that it's difficult to find any sort of rhythm within the group, but I do believe it. And for two squads that are searching, seeing the top level they've brought this year, I like the idea of these two teams against each other. I think it's going to be a mess of a game, but it's a game that I would want to watch.
All right, Dev, close with this. There are 4 games that start 9 p.m. or later. El Paso, Tulsa looks like the dog. Oakland and Colorado Springs, 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Orange County, Monterey starts at 10 on Saturday night. And then the game on CBS Sports Golazo Network is Sacramento and Loudoun, Saturday, 10 p.m. It's got to be Orange County, Monterey, right?
Not even close.
Yeah.
They're running away from everyone. 2 teams in the West. And Orange County feels like it's going to be a title contender once again. And Monterey, is this finally, Mike, the year that they work themselves up the table and maybe get a home field game eventually?
It's starting to look like it, isn't it? But
Yeah.
we said that this time last year.
And look what happened.
But Tristan Traeger is a difference maker for me.
I'll
throw that.
Love him. I
No
hated that loss by the Charleston Battery.
No doubt.
He is great.
No doubt.
Talking about using players all over the place, put that guy anywhere on the front line, and I'm happy.
Seriously. Poor Battery. I'm so sorry. All right, when we come back, look ahead to the USL on CBS Sports Network game of note. Look at the Winless, the unbeaten. We hit the mailbag. It's all next here on USL All Access.
You're listening to USL All Access on SiriusXM FC. Here are your hosts, Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody. We close out here on USL All Access with a look ahead to the game on Saturday on CBS Sports Network between Tampa Bay and New Mexico. But before we get there, let's just mention there are 2 winless teams that remain and 4 unbeaten that remain. And as we go every week, will someone win finally, or will someone lose finally? Couple teams did find their first win, Rhode Island and Pittsburgh. So the 2 remaining teams are El Paso, who hosts Tulsa, and Colorado Springs, who are away to Oakland seeking their first win. Will either do it?
El Paso will do it.
Agreed. Colorado Springs?
Maybe a draw.
Maybe a draw. Unbeaten, there are 4 now. Orange County lost to Sacramento on the weekend. Detroit at Pittsburgh. Sacramento will host Loudoun. Charleston will host Las Vegas. Tampa Bay will host New Mexico. Anybody getting knocked off the pedestal?
Tampa Bay.
Detroit.
You think Detroit gets a win?
I think Detroit loses.
Oh, you're saying Detroit loses? Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
I think Pittsburgh.
And you know what? And to be clear, I probably like your pick better, but I'm more likely to see a draw out of the Rowdies game. But for some reason, I have this.
Well, they're not
suspicion.
perfect. They can get another draw.
No,
These
I
are
know.
just unbeaten teams.
It's a character decision for me by New Mexico. I liked what I saw on the weekend and some of what they did.
All right, let's chat about that for a moment. Rowdies will see New Mexico Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Dev is too big and too important to make this one, so I'll be with Ricky Lopez Espen for it. Yeah, you need a cable package for this. I'm sorry. It's on CBS-SN. I'm sorry. I'm just going to get out in front of it. I'm not going to wear a green jacket. I'm not going to be on your local affiliate. It's on CBS Sports Network. All right, Dev, chance for a quick thought.
Love the progression that I've seen by both teams. I think for New Mexico United, I need the cores of this team, the groupings, to stay a little bit closer. Now, the freedom within Eric Quill is everything. We've talked about that. But I feel like within it, both attacking and defensive transitions, the group's been a little bit too spread apart. North Carolina did a really good job on the weekend of that. NCFC found these seams to move through quickly. The Rowdies will eat you alive if that is the case. They are too good at moving sequentially together. So maybe they're not at the highest level, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, that we expect out of them, and certainly not as early on in this season as we wanted them to be. But they are still very good within the midfield. The collaborative efforts that they get side to side, stretching the game. If New Mexico cannot stay closer together, they're going to get themselves into trouble. But again, the character pick on the weekend, twice they went behind, twice they had immediate responses on the road. I haven't seen fight like that for New Mexico in a while.
And I would add, if you're Tampa Bay, I had questions about Arteaga and how he would fit in, given how it went in Indy, and not knowing the new manager with the Rowdies, but having a feeling that the previous iteration would have been just fine for him. Ultimately, he's hit the ground running, and Cal Jennings is a freak. I love Cal Jennings.
I can't believe he's still here.
I cannot agree with you more. All right, Dev, hit our favorite segment. It's been a minute. Mailbag.
So an interesting question posed here, and it's about the Bellevue scholarship available to players and also front office staff within the USL Championship. And it's the ability to further their education while playing and while finishing. Now, I do know that the rules are one player from each team. I don't know how many scholarships are allocated for the front office staff, but someone asked me if I felt like it was for the betterment of the game for USL Championship players to have access to it. Did I think that there needed to be more, or did I feel that it was better for players to chase college first and then go pro?
This is being posed to me first.
That silence is for you, and then I'll tell you what I said.
Yeah, look, from and the men's side has had a lot more of this. It's actively going on the women's side for the first time. What's the value of a college scholarship, especially in the NIL era, depending on where you go? And ultimately, I think if you want to be a professional footballer in the long run, the earlier you start, the more likely you're going to have success. The games, the repetition, the practice against grown men is all far more valuable than anything you're going to get in college at this stage. All that said, maybe you get 10 years. Maybe. That'd be amazing. But the average player, you may not really have much of a career after 5, 6, 7 years, even if you start at 18. So, find a way to advance your education because it'll set you up for the rest of your life. Not everyone needs a college scholarship to do that, but if it's there, you should be absolutely running for it.
Agreed. And I want to add this. This was brought to my attention basically on the example of Aiden Stanley. Aiden Stanley, who came up from St. Louis Scott Gallagher, who at that point in time was the affiliate and pathway through St. Louis FC, rest in peace, then goes to Duke, then ends up with Timbers 2. He was with Sporting for half a minute before he ever got to perform. Then he went to Austin, then Miami FC. Now he's with Indy. Aiden is a guy who I feel that if you went back and looked at his career and had the ability to, I would wonder if he would have stayed at Duke longer. The only reason I say that is personally, it goes from Preki to Anthony Pulis, to John Kerr, to Cam Knowles, to I don't know who was the Sporting KC coach too in 21. Anyway, he has 4 different coaches, 4 different very different ideas, and you're molding a young man. And so I'm with you. Take the pathway to pro, take the opportunity, but we're developing people just as much as we are players. And if you don't get that equation right, forget all the skills in the world. You have to get the mental side for this person right as well in order for them to have success on the field. There is a very fine line that you walk in this situation.
Yeah. This may deserve an elongated conversation next week because I feel very strongly about it. And I know you do as well.
You're using a lot of big words that I don't understand, so I'm going to take them as a sign of disrespect.
Well, Devon, they're elongated words. Duh. Did you learn anything from this show?
I learned that you will, in fact, enjoy a condiment with me, even though it's white. Spicy ranch for the win.
I learned that the nature of these beautiful kits is I feel like a Volvo when I'm stuck inside. Enjoy the games this week. Next national TV game, CBS Sports Network, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. It's the Rowdies in New Mexico. You won't want to miss it. For Devon, Emmett, and the Volvo, so long for now. We'll talk to you next Tuesday night.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SXM app.